Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hello everyone, Carrie here, and today we're taking a look at the Black Remnant Force Pack, the Command Lance. Now, before we get into it, if you are like me, you hadn't heard of the Black Remnant until the Force Pack was announced. In that case, it is a BattleTech RPG series on Penny Arcade. I know that it has its fans. I've listened a little bit to it. I really don't get into it. It doesn't grab me. But there is a Dragonfire in here, and that does. So, let's take a look at the Black Remnant Force Pack. Before we hop into the main subject, I want to remind you that if you enjoy these videos, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and you can support the channel and podcast at patreon.com/unicorn company. Now, on to the review. Now, I know you want me to hop straight into the Dragonfire, but this Force Pack does come with 3 more mechs, and I'm going to make you listen to me poke and prod all of them before we get there. Unless you use the chapters. So, anyway. The Black Remnant Command Lance Force Pack comes with variants of the Cyclops, Flashman, Blood Asp, and of course, the new Dragonfire. I feel like we should start with the Cyclops, as it is a classic, and, well, this one I don't think I ever realized existed, because this is the rocket launcher spam Cyclops, with a total of 6 rocket launcher 20s.
I love it. I'm having spam, baby, spam.
Supported by an autocannon 20 and a medium laser in each of the mech's arms. Well, the autocannon 20's in a torso. Now, the rocket launcher 20s would let you turn your mech into a building scale claymore mine for 1 turn. Then you become something of a mega hunchback. Alpha Strike doesn't quite let you do that, but it does look absolutely amazing. And yes, each of those little squares would release 5 rockets. I counted. Looking at the model from a strictly technical standpoint, it's done rather well, with a mold line that runs down the upper leg, crosses the knee diagonally to the edge of the inner leg where it disappears. This is all on flat surfaces and should be easy to clean. There are also remnants of mold lines on the thumbs of the mech, but nothing serious and shouldn't be hard to remove. From the mech's right side, everything looks really clean, with nothing that really jumps out at me. And on the rear, there is a clip point visible on the top of each leg, and a mold line on the rear of each calf. Once again, it is on a flat surface, easy to remove, and shouldn't be too much of a bother. Of course, once you get to the mech's right side, it's super clean again. Once bringing it back around, I did notice that the outside edge of the rocket launcher housings do have a very sharp corner where they have hidden a mold line. I would give it a quick pass with the sanding stick to bring down the sharpness and the burr on there. Now, let's look at the Alpha Strike cards for it. The first of these is the one that this mech represents, the CP-11-H. The Cyclops 11H is a battle mech, size 4 with a TMM of 1 and movement of 8 inches. It is a juggernaut with a points cost of 38 and is available from the Civil War era forward. The mech does 4 damage at short and medium ranges with no long range capability or overheat value. The mech is a beefy boy with armor and structure of 7, and the only special being AC-22 Without case, it can go down due to an ammo explosion, but it does make for a cheap and effective assault mech that is especially thematic for pirates and space Romans. The Marian hegemony. The other variant we have a card for is the CP-11-C. This one is a battle mech, size 4 with a TMM of 1 and 8 movement. It's a brawler with a points cost of 45 points and is available from the Clan Invasion forward. This mech does 3 at short with 4 at medium and a long of 2 and doesn't have an overheat value. The mech is less well protected than the 11H with 6 armor and 7 structure, and for specials it has C3 Master, Mobile Headquarters 5, and Tag. The lack of case is disturbing to me, as this is a C3 Lance anchor being, and if it goes down, the entire Lance loses that ability, which you are definitely paying a premium for. Now, the next mech we have here is the Flashman. This is another variant, and so I won't load this down with talk about where they came from or their history, as I covered the mech in one of the level 2 reviews previously. Though it might be time to remaster all those older reviews. And it's a reason to buy more. Anyway, the Flashman Mini we get here is reflective of the FLS-10E and is a very nice mini. The model itself is in a more dynamic pose than the original version that came out with the Clan Invasion Kickstarter, and I think looks better for it. The overall detail on the mech is really good, with the only mold lines I'm finding being those on the main weapon barrels on each arm, on top and bottom. Those, along with the burring at the end of the muzzles, is pretty minimal and should be easy to clean up. As far as the clip points, you have to get to the back of the mech to see the first two, which are at the top of the legs and on a flat surface, making them easy to clean. The other ones that I can spot are on the lower rear of each arm, which you wouldn't see unless you pick the mini up and look at it from underneath. Overall, I think they did a spectacular job on this one, giving a nice dynamic pose, and did so at a very high quality. We do have a double-sided Alpha Strike card for the mech. The first of the two I'm covering from this one is the one that the miniature represents, the 10E Flashman, which is a battle mech, size 3, with a TMM of 2 and movement of 12 inches. The mech is a skirmisher with a PV of 49 and is available from the Dark Ages forward. I need to check something real quick. Let's see. Mercenaries, Ill Clans, scroll down. Yes. It is available to mercenaries in the Ill Clan era. Okay, so anyway. It does 4 damage at short and medium with 3 at long and an overheat of 3. The mech has 8 armor and 4 structure with specials of anti-missile system, Case 2, Rear 1-1 nil, and Reflective Armor. Now, while it doesn't punch as hard as some of my favorites out there, from the front, if you are shooting this in Alpha Strike with a unit that has the SRM, LRM, or IF abilities, with the Reflective Armor, as long as the unit does not have the ENE special ability, it reduces damage by 1. Meaning that you reduce incoming attacks if they have the first 3 abilities by 2. And if they have the ENE special ability, you cut the damage in half, then remove 1 for AMS if they have one of the missile abilities until your armor runs out. This makes a 10E an absolute monster in the long run, as it is able to tank a lot more damage than its armor value would lead you to believe. The other side of the card has the 9C variant of the Flashman, which came out during the Clan Invasion and is still available in the Ill Clan era. It's a battle mech, size 3, with a TMM of 2 and movement of 10 inches. It is a skirmisher with a point value of 48. The mech does 4 damage at short and medium ranges and 3 at long with an overheat of 2. The mech has 7 armor and 3 structure with specials of improved C3 computer, energy, mobile headquarters 2, and rear 1-1 nil. In a C3I unit, this would be absolutely amazing. In the context of just on its own, though, I think the C3I is a wasted point adjustment that raises the price of what is an otherwise good design. Alright, now we've covered half the Lance, and before we hop into the final 2 mechs, I want to let you know about our sponsor, Fortress Miniatures and Games. They have just about anything you will need for BattleTech. Fast delivery and discount prices wherever they can get you the best price. So check them out at fortressminiaturesandgames.com. For our final 2 mechs, this is the first time that either of them have been in a force pack, though one has been out a little bit already, and that is the Blood Asp. The Blood Asp miniature we get here represents the eye configuration of the Omni-Mech. In the video I did about the Blood Asp, Savannah Masters, and Visigoth, I talk about the changes made to the design from the previous iterations, so I won't go over these with you here. Needless to say, though, the current version of the Blood Asp is leagues above anything we have gotten before. Now, while I do prefer the symmetry of the Prime, the eye looks good, and I really like what they have done here with mounting the improved heavy Gauss up on the shoulder mount. Looking at the model from the front, I'm not really seeing too much here that would need to be done, with the only mold line I'm spotting being on the top of the housing for the heavy Gauss rifle. Going over to the mech's left side, the model is very clean with no obvious blemishes. When I get to the rear, I can see the clip points on the top of each leg. They're pretty easy to get to with a hobby knife though, so shouldn't be an issue. On the mech's right side, there isn't anything really to report there either, as it is pretty clean and there is nothing obvious. Looking all over the Mini, I didn't see any other clip points, so I believe that they have taken care to hide them in the mating surfaces between the parts, which is really clever. Overall, the shifting leg stance that the mech has and its rather unique look as compared to the Prime, I feel make this have a little bit more, tiny bit more menacing of a look, and Catalyst has done a very good job on making it stand out, especially when compared to the Kickstarter version. As far as the Alpha Strike cards we get with the mech, we have the Blood Asp I, which is a battle mech size 4 with a TMM of 1 and movement of 8. The mech is a brawler with a point value of 52 and is available from the Dark Ages forward. It does 6 damage at short, 7 at medium, and 3 at long with no overheat value. It does have armor of 9 and structure of 5 with specials of Case, Omni, and re-engineered laser, making it effective against targets with reflective armor. The other side of the card has the Blood Asp C. This configuration of the mech is a battle mech size 4 with a TMM of 1 and 8 movement. It is a brawler that has been in service from the clan invasion into the current era. The mech comes in at 51 points and does 6 damage at short and medium ranges with 4 at long and no overheat. It has 9 armor and 5 structure with Case, Flak 1-1-0, and Omni as its special abilities. This one is a good standard assault beat stick that you can hit your foes over the head with until they submit or you go down swinging. Now, the final mech that we have here is the Dragonfire. This mech has had something of an awkward history, and since this is its first appearance in plastic, I want to talk a little bit about it. The Dragonfire first came out in Technical Readout 3058, and, well, it isn't a pretty mech. To quote the recent entry in Shrapnel 19, the Dragonfire is a red-headed stepchild of the Marauder family. It later goes on to say, a well-received tech article once described it as having horrifying, sanity-eviscerating, non-Euclidean geometry with a repudiation of all that is aesthetically right in the universe. Now, to be fair, this is a pretty accurate description of the mech, as it is, well, lumpy, as though a precursor to the Sagittaire later developed by the Federated Suns. The Dragonfire is covered in lumps and is bristling with an array of forward-facing weapons. The newest variant of the mech only serves to enhance this innate non-Euclidean look to the design with the addition of a dorsal-mounted weapon. That being said, the Dragonfire has an odd charm to it, much like the Champion or the Hussar, and the design both looks outlandish and at the same time, much like if you asked a child to draw a tank, they would likely make a big blocky thing that looks like the mouse, that is unreasonably big and blocky and angular. The Dragonfire screams to me what a child would draw if you asked them to draw the most powerful mech you could ever have, with all the guns. What we have now is a massive improvement over the original, though. As you can see in this comparative picture I found online, and I am all the more happy for it. The Dragonfire also has a hidden feature, which I'll tell you about in a moment. Let's look at the mini, though. The Dragonfire miniature that we get is, well, it's interesting, unique, and you are either going to love it or hate it. It has a nice dynamic pose and actually looks, well, it looks good. The only blemish that I can see from the front really is that there is a slight mold line down the center of the upper legs, easy to take care of, as well as one along the dorsal of each arm, which shouldn't be hard to get rid of either. For the most part, they have hidden the leg mold lines along the edge of a hard corner on the outside of the legs, and those can be cleaned or softened quite easily. As we get to the mech's left side and in the rear, everything looks super good, with a mold line that does run around the back of the mech that you can see under good lighting, but once again, shouldn't be too hard to clean up. If you lean it forward, there's also a mold line running across the lower rear of the hip assembly. This is super easy to get to and get rid of. From the mech's right side, it is also super clean, and I am not able to find mold lines. From the sides directly, you can't see the corner hidden mold lines in the legs. It is generally from a 3/4 perspective. I'm sure you also noticed that the mini changed midway through talking about it. With the dorsal mount weapon, this is the rotary autocannon 5 for the 9D variant that came out in shrapnel. You can feel a mold line on the dorsal and ventral side of the weapon, and the sensor dome hides its mold line along the hard edge where you can feel it but not really see it. Alright, so let's talk about the Alpha Strike cards before I talk about the little bonus feature of this miniature that I believe is completely accidental. On the first side of the card, you get the DRG-3F. Before I go over the stats, the 3F and 4F are completely identical in Alpha Strike, so I'm sort of covering both here. The Dragonfire 3F is a battle mech size 3 with a TMM of 1 and movement of 8 inches. It is a brawler that comes in at 43 points and is available from the clan invasion forward. The mech does 4 damage at short, 5 at medium, and 3 at long with no overheat value. It has armor of 8 and structure of 3 with specials of case, ECM, and flak 111, making it good at interdicting C3 networks as well as providing some anti-aircraft capabilities. The other side of the card has the 9D variant of the mech. The DRG-9D is a battle mech size 3 with a TMM of 1 and movement of 6 inches. The mech is a sniper with a points cost of 44 and is available from the Dark Age forward. The mech does 5 at short and medium ranges with 4 at long and can overheat up to 2. It has 8 armor and 3 structure, and the only special that it has is Case 2. This is a solid pocket assault mech. I would have to say, though, that even though it doesn't affect the TMM, I do prefer the 3F and 4F to this mech. I will also be covering the rest of the Dragonfire variants that come in Shrapnel 19 on my Patreon. So you can switch out the dorsal weapon and the sensor dome, and I'm sure that you could easily magnetize these. In the legendary Mechwarriors 3 video, I mentioned about how the Red Hunter Marauder autocannon can work to make the Marauder 7D. Well, if you want one that looks super accurate, this rotary autocannon 5 meant for the Dragonfire 9D is a rotary autocannon that can be mounted up on the dorsal mount on a Marauder and makes the 7D Marauder very accurately. In fact, since one of my salvage boxes had a Red Hunter Marauder, I know exactly what I'll be doing with this one. Okay, so overall, I think this set is pretty good. You get some awesome mech variants as well as the new Dragonfire mini, which, given the upgrade in look and quality alone, not to mention the Blood Asp in a non-salvage box, which should come out less than buying one by itself in a salvage box or secondhand, I think this force pack is definitely worth the price tag for the new sculpts, new mini, and the unintentional Marauder upgrade that it comes with. So that wraps everything up. I want to thank you all for watching. or listening. I also want to thank all of my wonderful patrons. I'm trying to get videos up early for anyone at the cadet tier and above, so you don't have to deal with all the Facebook ad or YouTube ads, sorry. If you want to support the podcast, get updates, ad-free videos, and other goodies when I can get them out, consider supporting us on Patreon. So until next time, this is Carrie signing off. I want to thank all of our patrons who help make this possible. First, at Captain, we have Sarah. And then our lieutenants, Boy in a Box, Gus, Haley, Nathan, and Will. And then our sergeants, BZ Archer, Faz, Steven, and finally our cadets, NB Kaiju, Housemaster Poding, Jamie, and Scott. Thank you all so much for supporting the podcast and the channel. You all make this so possible. Also, I do want to mention once again our sponsor and mercenary liaison, FortressMiniaturesandGames.com.